Over the past few decades, the issue on how to combat the global war on terror has become much more prevalent. Modern terrorism to express a political cause and/or hate for another group has accelerated significantly since World War II, and has become a main global issue since the 9/11 attacks. Since then, the way in which we deal with potential terrorists has sparked a lot of controversy. Large quantities of information have been released regarding how the United States tortured innocent detainees at Guantanamo Bay, or as the CIA likes to call it, enhanced interrogation tactics. These tactics include cramped confinement, dietary manipulation, abdominal and facial slaps, stress positioning, sleep deprivation to the point of hallucination, forced nudity, threats against family, and perhaps most ruthless of all, waterboarding. One report claimed that a man later deemed innocent was waterboarded 83 times in just 1 month. This defies the 8th Amendment of the Constitution, which protects against cruel and unusual punishment. However, a viable question would be, if someone is a terrorist with valuable information that we could use to potentially save thousands of people, is torture then justified? Is it really a cruel and unusual punishment to use torture on a man that has plans to murder mass amounts of people? Well, probably not, but that's not the point. It is simply not worth torturing hundreds of innocent souls just to torture a couple of genuine terrorists who are extremely unlikely to give the sought-after information anyway. Interrogation by torture relies on the assumption that stress, fear, pain, and horror that subjects go through coerces them into delivering truthful information. Extensive studies conducted by Professor Shane O'Mara of Experimental Brain Research at Trinity College in Dublin, Ireland, found that torture significantly increases the chance of a confession, but these confessions have no reliability. Torture encourages lies, not the truth. There simply is no pain-inducing technique that would allow an individual to deliver truthful information before going into a dissociative state. O'Mara also noted that CIA operatives literally admitted their approach was based on the fictional character Jack Bauer from the TV series 24, in which torture generally saves the day. The majority of psychologists and professional interrogators appear to distrust torture as a reliable mechanism in obtaining truthful information. The issue isn't getting the detainee to talk, it's getting them to talk truthfully. What many don't realize is that there is a high correlation between developing rapport and the truthfulness of the given information. The goal of many interrogators is just to get the subject to speak, without developing rapport. This does not yield the truth. In a 2016 publication in which 30 high-value detainees were questioned for terror-related activities, it was concluded that coercive interrogation methods had zero impact on cooperation and disclosure, while rapport-building techniques yielded much higher disclosure. We can also look at numerous examples throughout history that show that torture does not yield the truth. Both the European witch trials and the Salem witch trials involved large amounts of people accused of being a witch, and for some odd reason, just the mere accusation alone would sentence the individual to torture where they'd almost always confess just to save their own ass. Most people today view the Salem witch trials as laughable due to its stupidity, when what is happening today is not all that much different. Since the attacks on 9/11, 780 detainees have been brought to Guantanamo Bay, and 731 have been released without charges. That's a whopping 93.7% of those who underwent torture, in some instances for several years, were completely innocent. In reality, that percentage is actually a little higher, considering only 7 of the remaining 41 at Guantanamo actually face any formal charges. It's just disgusting to think the United States rounded up several hundred people and ruthlessly tortured them just because they had a slight suspicion they may have been involved in terror-related attacks. These torture tactics were so hard that 9 inmates died, 6 of which were from suicide. Those who didn't die still face long-term physical effects and potentially permanent psychological damage. Long-term physical damage includes scars, headaches, dental pain, deterioration of vision, cardiovascular problems, sexual difficulties, and neurological damage. Long-term Psychological effects include difficulty concentrating, nightmares, insomnia, memory loss, fatigue, emotional instability, anxiety, depression, and even PTSD. This type of treatment is just what the Geneva Convention sought to eliminate after the disgusting way the prisoners of war were treated in World War II. Many people tend to believe that the sole purpose of the Geneva Conventions was to grant a captured soldier rights to all the protections an ordinary domestic prison would have, preferably more, considering he has actually committed no crime, and that he would then be released after the war ended. However, the implications of the Geneva Conventions actually go much deeper than that. They were written with the intent to end the rather barbaric treatment we've seen prisoners of war receive throughout the years during wartime. The treaty stated that if a country broke the laws of war and abused detainees themselves, they were no longer subject to protection of the code. So even if we are dealing with a terrorist who, yes, does break moral human code on every level, we still risk losing our code with a dealt nation. Recently, President Trump has described the Geneva Conventions as a problem, complaining that too many rules make soldiers afraid to fight. Trump has even advocated the killings of suspected terrorists, as well as bombing campaigns that would run through civilian-packed areas, a direct violation of not only the Geneva Conventions, but basic morals as well. With Trump's openness on breaking the policy, this definitely could impact other countries' decisions on upholding the code for the United States, putting the whole country at risk. Torture certainly seems to create more problems than it solves. Because the enhanced interrogation tactics the CIA uses are so controversial, they are extremely quick to justify them when even the most minuscule thing goes in their favor. The CIA claimed that the disclosure of Osama bin Laden's location in 2011 was due to their enhanced interrogation tactics. However, previously classified documents showed that this was inaccurate. The CIA had already received a goldmine of information on bin Laden several years prior, which proved crucial in finding him. The documents also told of a man named Hassan Ghul who was subject to torture but provided no valuable information, yet, before the documents were released, the CIA went ahead anyway and claimed that they had gotten valuable information from Ghul that led to this disclosure of bin Laden's location. Another example of the CIA falsely boasting about the effectiveness of their interrogation tactics was the capture of Jose Padilla. Jose Padilla was accused of planting a radiological dirty bomb and was one of the first American citizens deemed as an enemy combatant. The government credited the interrogation of Abu Zubaydah with uncovering the plot Padilla had and leading investigators directly to him, while later documents revealed that Zubaydah had provided information he had provided long before he was waterboarded, and Jose Padilla was actually arrested before the interrogation program even began at all. In addition to the cases of Osama bin Laden and Jose Padilla, the Senate Select Committee also debunked the cases of the Karachi plots, discovery of the Al Ghuraba group, capture of Iman Farist, capture of Ranzi bin al-Shib, and the capture of Khalid Sheikh Mohammed as evidence that the CIA's enhanced interrogation tactics actually worked. Alright, since there is virtually no evidence that torture has actually helped in a positive way, it should never be implemented. The United States was founded on the basis of being mistreated themselves. Many of the first 10 amendments were created based on being mistreated by the British. When the Founding Fathers wrote the Constitution, they guaranteed these rights for all, and therefore no one should ever sink down to the level the British had in the mid to late 1700s, even when we are dealing with potential terrorists. Sure, torture can get a subject to speak, but it can't get them to speak truthfully. There's better methods of interrogation out there. Torture is not the answer. If you like this content, please give it a thumbs up. It helps out the channel, and if you want to see more content like this in the future, don't hesitate to click that subscribe button. I'll be making videos about pretty much whatever I find interesting, topics similar to this, as well as stuff about science, the future, human nature, and much more. Peace.